Welcome to the Handcrafted Podcast, the business of making things. I'm Paul, founder of Philadelphia Table Company and the Handcrafted Network, and I believe great craftsmanship deserves great business strategy. This podcast is for makers who want to build not just great products, but a thriving business. Each episode will dive into the mindset, systems, and skills that turn craft into success. All right, guys, welcome back to the Handcrafted Podcast. Hope everybody has been doing great. So the past two episodes are actually pre-recorded before I went away. I just got back from a family vacation with, well, not just got back. I got back about a week ago with my family. We went to Maine, celebrated my 40th. Happy birthday to me. And yeah, I mean, it was great to get away. I always tell everybody this. It's really important to take time off. Allows you to come back, reset, rethink, all that stuff. With that said, while I was away, for those of you guys who do follow Philadelphia Table Company on social media, you'll see that my shop flooded while I was gone. Not a fun thing, not a great way to relax. It happened on a Monday, and it happened pretty early in the day, so some people weren't there, different leadership people. I wasn't there, obviously. My foreman wasn't there. But I'm super proud of my team. Shout out to my team if any of you guys listen to this podcast. They did an amazing job of working together. And although our shop is sort of the single maker approach, everyone, from an outside perspective, you say, hey, single maker approach, does that affect teamwork? Does that affect collaboration? Clearly not. Everybody rallied together. Everybody worked together to help literally bail us out. We were able to, thankfully, there's very minimal damage, just kind of like the bottoms of some sheet goods, but we were able to get everything up and off the floor pretty quickly, as well as drain it out pretty quickly. So in a matter of 15 minutes, we had about, a foot of water in our whole shop. And then it seemed like maybe about 2 or 3 hours later, it started to recede a little bit. But with that said, I'm super stoked to have a great team. I'm super stoked to have people around me that do a really great job of working together and really believe in this vision that we've created at Philadelphia Table Company. So kudos to my team. And so with that said, aside from that, the trip was pretty relaxing. I probably could have done a better job of lining things up better before I left so that I wasn't fully on, because I wasn't able to fully unplug, which I actually really love to do, but wasn't able to do that. So anyways, I'm back, have a little bit more pep in my step for now, a little bit more wind in my sails, just coming back, looking at things with a clear head. All right, so the other day I heard something really interesting where LeBron James apparently spends about $1 million to $1.5 million a year on his health and fitness, right? That's directly related to his quote unquote job, right? He is a professional athlete, and he made, I think last year, something like $52.5 million, something like that. And if you look at the amount of money he's putting in, that's a 5x return on how he's investing in himself. And I think it's important for all of us to look at it and say, hey, what are the things we could be doing? What's my version of LeBron's $1.5 million to have a return on investment? And I'm also talking about, obviously there's business investments, things like buying machines and all that stuff. But I'm talking about personal investments. What are the things you're doing personally? So there have been times where, this happens all the time, is I'm working with coaches, employing coaches, employing kind of like part of group mastermind groups. I have my own mastermind group as well. I have, online personal trainer, therapy, all of these different things that I do that help sort of get my head straight, as well as get me prepared to run the best business I possibly can. How to helps me do a better job of managing the team. It helps me do a better job of doing sales and just growing the business as a whole, right? So what are you doing to do that? Like, what kind of things are you investing in? What sorts of things are you putting money into that help you grow and just be a better version of yourself, better business owner, all of that sort of stuff. And so with that said, the segue is Handcrafted Network. It can be just a small portion of whatever that budget is that you decide to invest in yourself. Being connected with other makers, other people in a community that are doing things professionally, semi-professionally, to be able to bounce ideas off of is ever critical. I just had I have a personal mastermind group. I had mine last Thursday. this past Thursday, and it was amazing. It's just invaluable to be connected to other people that are doing this. You're able to ask questions. You're able to say, hey, what's working for you? Or this isn't working for me. What can I do to change it? So having all of that stuff plus modules, online classroom where you can go through and learn different things. I've had a bunch of people sign up in the past a few weeks or so where we've kind of talked through the different module, different classroom sections. So what I've done was I said, hey, go in and do this ads course, go in and do this social media course. All of these different courses that I've put together that have helped grow my business and the things I wished I had when I was coming up as a business owner. And so with that said, we are running a summer special. It's not going to be going on forever. We're doing 7-day free trial. If you're curious about it in any sense of it, there's a link below. You could click on it, sign up for the free trial. You'll get prompted to do a phone call with me where we'll talk one-on-one. The one-on-one is usually a great way for me to learn about you, offer sort of insights, maybe connect you to the right people, give my sort of perspective and viewpoint as far as like what sort of next steps might be helpful, which classroom sections might make sense, what people you should connect with, all that sort of stuff. So again, if you're interested, click below. There is a link in the comments in the show notes, whether it be YouTube or Apple or Spotify, however you're listening to this, just click below, sign up. Again, you'll be prompted to me and you'll get plugged into this entire community. All right, so with that said, today's podcast episode I want to call Talk Story. So if you notice in the beginning of this, I told you a story. I told the story of LeBron James. And I guarantee you what's going to happen now is you're going to hear this story and you're going to remember going back and you're going to, maybe tell somebody else, be like, oh my God, did you know LeBron James spends this, right? There are all these sorts of stories that get passed down and shared. And it's really the way humans it's like a human mode of communicating. And I think it's really one of the things that has separated us from chimps and has allowed us to evolve is the ability to tell stories and to share conversation and connection. Storytelling is ever critical in sales process, in motivating team, in getting people to like you in so many ways. So I personally consider myself to be a relatively decent storyteller. I could hold my own at a campfire or with friends. I could get a few laughs out of people and things. But obviously there's always room for improvement. So what I've been doing recently is diving into like a few books. So there's a book called Made to Stick, which I just recently started the audio version of it. And what that does is it really breaks down sort of the steps and the simple ways to quote unquote make a story. The other one that is a little bit controversial is How to Make Friends and Influence People. Several, serial killers and things use this book to manipulate people and catch people and bring people in. But it's a fantastic book regardless. So why am I talking about storytelling? And how does this relate to your business? Storytelling is ever critical let's break it into two things. So in the customer facing thing, whenever I'm talking about selling something as a salesperson, as the head salesperson at my company, I'm always building a story around the particular piece that they're talking to me about. So for me, the story, and it goes even further upstream, I get upstream or downstream, either way, it goes somewhere on the stream where even the website is presenting a story. And I'm like, hey, how do we tell more story as opposed to it being like factual? What's making this a great story? So one of the things that makes it a great story is these are bespoke made. They're made by hand. They're made by an individual maker, top to bottom. And so I build a story on that. I say, hey, the same person who's milling the lumber is the same person who puts the finish on the lumber, and they brand it and sign it. So in their head, this is now a story that they are going to carry on and share with others, right? So building a story, building a narrative is only going to increase the value of what it is that you're doing, as well as create memorability and client retention. And one thing that I've been really considering is that story needs to happen at each stage of the sales process from a sales perspective. So if somebody's asking me about a particular piece or something, I very rarely just say, hey, that's going to be $9,000. I build a story around it. Hey, this is going to be from a Claro walnut tree that's from the Pacific Northwest. Here's the particular slab. Unfortunately, each slab is market value because it's one of one, it's unique, it's one of a kind, and we're then going to mill it and prepare it and draw the different diagrams and shop photos for you. And all of that is going to cost $9,000 or something like that, right? So I'm always building a story around it. Another great example is as we get into our sort of design process a little further down, what happens is, we have to talk to them about wood material and finish and design choices and all that stuff. So when we send a design that we're trying to push, we then try to build a story around it. So it's like, hey, we're doing this design because we've thought about the ergonomics of your chair and your banquette layout and making sure that it fits perfectly in this particular space. What happens is, as you're building the story and become a better storyteller, they start to trust you more. They start to trust your vision. So we're not making what we call Frankenstein tables, which are tables that are just like pieces mashed together. It allows us to put our sort of creative vision out there, which creates better products, which allows us to create and sell better products to share. And it also allows us to have the trust of the client, so there's not tons and tons of questions. Another great place to do this is what we do with our finished samples. So what we've had to do was, when we first started the business, we offered a whole bunch of different finished samples. And I was talking to somebody else, a private client actually, about this. So we used to offer, any finish you want. We're a custom, you can do whatever you want. What ended up happening was it just became like a logistical nightmare. So what we did was we're like, hey, we have to narrow this down. But to narrow it down, I can't just be like, hey, we're narrowing it down, because it's a pain in the ass to have all of these finished samples. What we did was we narrowed it down and told a story around it. Hey, these are the signature finishes. These are the tried and true finishes that we have used over and over again that look fantastic in homes and have incredible durability. With that, we're able to sell 95% of clients on our specific selection of stain. So I'm not going through and trying to find all the different colors and all the different stains. I focus them in that. Same thing with our collection pieces. So we've always been a custom furniture company, but as we start to develop the collection, I'm starting to build a story around those things. I'm starting to say, hey, this is the culmination of a whole bunch of custom things, a whole bunch of things that went wrong, and a whole bunch of things that went right. And so we've put all of the things that went right together into one piece and created this absolutely timeless, stunning piece. It's still going to be made to order. It's still bench made. But what we've done was took the thinking work out of it and helped curate a collection. And again, if you notice, I'm telling a story around the particular pieces. That's what I'm always doing. And so with each step of the way, you need to be telling the story about the why, not just the, hey, this is what it is, right? And what happens is it allows people to get really excited and motivated around it. The other point I want to talk about too with telling stories, I think it's a really great way to get people to believe in the vision of the company and where it's going, whether it be to clients or whether it be to employees, and to like team build and build sort of what it is. So sharing the vision of what it is. So for me, the story and I genuinely believe in this, is just how I'm saying it, is to prove the system wrong by making things one at a time, fully bespoke at the highest quality, but also be able to build scalable. Everyone says custom doesn't scale. I'm here to prove that it does scale, and I'm here to prove that there's a new system to do things that are completely different than an assembly line or a factory setting process. And my team, we all strongly believe in this story, in this narrative of the fact that we can create this business that's uniquely different and be able to share that with other people. So my story is, I want people to come in and I want people to say, hey, Paul, how did you do it this way? You are at the forefront of managing it this way, and slowly start to change the way furniture is made sort of moving forward. But story is also important from marketing standpoint. How are you selling these pieces? How are you showing these pieces? What is the piece that, what's the story behind the particular piece? There are many times where, of course, some of the social media posts I'm lazy, I just say what it is. But a lot of times it's like, for example, we have a table called the Doran table. The story behind the Doran table, which we're using for great marketing, is the slab itself was so beautiful, we wanted to design a base that felt like the slab was floating and in the room. We also care a lot about ergonomics and functionality, so we wanted the base to be minimal and centrally focused. With that, we created the Doran, which has gentle edges, as well as a unique one-of-a-kind tabletop, where the tabletop is the showcase piece. And when you tell that story, people go, oh, that makes sense. Now I understand this piece. And what happens is they can then convey the story. So whether it be interior designer, or maybe one of two partners or a spouse or something sharing to another spouse, they can then convey that specific story. Going back to what I was saying about the LeBron James thing, that's now a story that you're able to share with somebody, right? So say you're trying to get convince your partner to allow you to have a sauna in your backyard, right? You could say, hey, LeBron James pays $1.5 million to a year in his own development so he can make his $52 million. I need this $5,000 sauna in my backyard to help me get my head straight, to help me grow a 7-figure business. And that story now is going to get passed on and through the different channels. And I'm sure all of you guys are going to have different versions of what that story is. So with that said, I just want to emphasize the importance of storytelling. It doesn't need to be long, but you need to think creatively. You need to think about, how can I build a story around any particular conversation that I'm having? So how a piece was developed, why this stain color, why this base selection, why your company. So I think a great way and a really good tool for storytelling is to think of the why, or think about how can you tell this around a campfire to the point that people go, oh, wow, that's amazing. That's such an amazing story. So then it then gets shared and further passed on. So again, our Philadelphia Table Company story is things that are made by a single maker, top to bottom, made to order, branded and signed. You have no clue how many times clients have referenced that to us, interior designers have referenced that to us, and people keep coming back because they say, I love your approach of doing it this way. And we make sure that that is like sort of the overarching story of the brand and of the company, and we continue to tell story along the way. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or want to push back on me for this, feel free. It's paul@thehandcraftednetwork.com. This has been an absolute blast growing the podcast. I think we're at episode, 66 or something like that. And thank you for those of you who listen, subscribe, all of that sort of stuff, engage, send me questions. If you are interested in a question for an upcoming office hours, please send me an email, paul@thehandcraftednetwork.com. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, share, all of that sort of stuff. Also, if you are in the woodworking world, I will be at the Texas Woodworking Conference based in Austin. That's going to be September 23rd to the 25th. And then I will also be at the Wood Pro Expo Conference speaking in Lancaster. I need to confirm the dates on that, but I think it's sometime in October. All right. So with that said, everybody have a great week, and we will talk soon. Peace.